That mythical true next-gen experience has been eluding us since the new consoles arrived. People are basing what the true next-gen experience is purely on a visual basis. It's quite easy to say then that Uncharted 4 on visual terms is a true next-gen experience. As a game though, it feels redundant, tired and horrifically contrived both in its gameplay and narrative. The story is very typical treasure hunting guff. Let's go find this treasure. Oh look, all the shit we went through wasn't really worth it in the end. Some of the twists you can see the moment you press the start button, and the reasons characters have to go to certain locations are poor. I would detail it, but I don't want to spoil the plot. Uncharted to me though has always been about its characters, which it still does very well. They are all very well rounded and acted brilliantly. Newcomer Sam, Drake's brother, fits right in and is a pretty interesting guy. Then on the other end of the spectrum we have Nadine, a hard as nails woman character who seems to have been put in as a feminist power trip. It's a shame really, because Uncharted has a great female character, Elena, who is much better written, but she's not in the game much until near the end. The new main villain is great, just one look at him and you think tosser, so props to the guy who played him. Puzzling though is some really oddly placed dialogue choices in the game. Literally there's just two of them. Neither of them alter the game in any way. The second one that crops up is just which smug twat response you want to come back with. The ending ties up everything quite nicely, if you have the patience to get there. You see, the game's pace is often halted by needless padding. I lost count of how many times I had to boost a character up to a ledge, then wait for them to drop a crate on wheels down that has somehow survived in 300-year-old ruins. Chief padding supreme of the game though is the climbing sections. There's no risk or challenge to them whatsoever, just point the stick at the ledges and press X, and they drag on and on, all while Nate is doing smug quips like the game knows full well how much of this crap there is. You'll see your destination in the distance, then a character or Drake will say we can't go that much more convenient better way, then you have to go the long ball ache boring climbing route. Scripted ledge collapsing happens with alarming regularity, which make you go back a few steps to make the climb that much more arduous. It's just boring. I'd say 80% of the game is climbing on bollocks and jogging around looking for the next spot to climb. And to go back to the ledge collapsing as you grab onto it trick, it was old after the first couple of times Uncharted 1 did it, and 9 years later developers are still doing it. You do know it surprises no one, right? I just can't emphasize how many roadblocks there are that involve Drake needing assistance from his support character. That and the climbing kept stopping the flow dead, and it absolutely killed the game for me. A couple of parts in the game really came close to controller through TV territory. Picture this, right? You enter a room and Nate will say, we need to find this. That may be a switch, item, whatever. You'll scan the room observing objects. You'll find said switch, but you can't interact with it. Then you'll interact with a few more objects, only for your support character to get triggered by these events and say, I found it, and uses the switch you couldn't interact with. Because the game just wants to waste more of your fucking time. It's too busy wanking itself off visually that it forgets it's a game. The familiar tropes the game retreads really emphasise the artificial roadblocks as well. I was predicting things all over the place, such as this bridge will collapse just after I get across it, that character isn't giving you the full story, as soon as I get near my destination something will explode, then I'll have to find another route, and obviously I could tell which ledges were going to collapse. All of this stuff combined made the levels feel like they were dragging on longer than they should have. The vehicle sections do something to break up the monotony, but there's not really a good indication of where you need to go, so even these drag on. It's a game that really needed all the fat cut off. The puzzles were a nice break, some are insultingly simple, others not so much, but if you take too long, the game basically tells you the solution anyway. So wait, I can skip the puzzles but not the boring overlong climbing bits. Combat is standard third-person action game. It has the standard enemy types, big armoured lad, close quarters lad, sniper, and the standard assault rifle drone. You can go in stealth mode, marking enemies and snapping necks, or guns blazing, then realise the game secretly resents you for that when it spawns in an extra 10,000 blokes, then go back to stealth. Enemies are pinpoint accurate, some are also able to take a heavy beating, so they really do put up a fight on the harder difficulties. The AI does seem improved, they will actually try to flank you rather than I'm just going to sit behind this cover and hit that square millimeter of skin poking out of cover. The enemy's hyper accuracy sometimes dampen the more action heavy set pieces like the car chase you saw at E3. You're on the back of a speeding truck with your aim wobbling all over the place as it drives across uneven terrain, but there's your enemies on the back of motorbikes nailing you with every shot. This is about the only set piece in the game, by the way. They obviously took a load out to make room for more boosting and climbing sections. The action does come alive a bit in the more open battle areas, which are seen a lot after the first act. There's all sorts of climbing, rope swinging and stealth opportunities to exploit, as well as the increased verticality of the areas, and the game is pretty forgiving with its stealth. It looks incredible all round, especially the digital acting. Shootouts as well feel, and I hate the word, cinematic. Chunks of wall get picked off, dirt flies through the air when a grenade goes off, all sorts of eye candy is on display to really draw you into the firefights. It's just a shame the enemy's pinpoint shots break the immersion a bit. There is a nice attention to detail all around. Shine your flashlight in a character's face, they'll shield their eyes. If a bullet whizzes by Drake when he's in cover, he'll wince. All of Uncharted's excellent visuals though felt like they were there to distract me from an ultimately mediocre game. It was just dull all round. I've never played a game where I felt my time was being wasted as much as this, even though games in general are a colossal waste of time. I feel like I've moaned about the pacing for most of this review. Hopefully that emphasises how fucking terrible it is, but what more can I say about the gameplay? It's a third-person cover shooter with stealth elements, but a rope swing thrown in. You've seen it 10 million squillion times before. And do you know what's bad? I was glad when these shooter sections turned up. That's right, the game bored me that much, I was glad when third-person cover shooting sections appeared. I don't like to be the guy who says your opinions are wrong, because everyone's is valuable. But people have made this out like it's the second coming, and I just don't think it is. It does nothing special in the gameplay department, and how no one has called out the horrific pace problems is beyond me.